Hello there everybody, my name is Supersonic Blur, and welcome back to a God Guide. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but I thought with new season we may as well start with some of the new things, and for that, we'll start with Jormungandr. I will post-actively go back and look at Merlin. I've got all the numbers figured for him, so I can now look at Jormungandr, because I've got some of those things done. So, let's talk about Jormungandr, the newest release. First of all, let's look on the screen now. These are the three specific sections, so if you've got anything in particular that you want to see, you can jump to those ahead if you need to. But for now, let's get right in with the kit explanation of Jormungandr. Okay, so Jormungandr's passive is called Immovable. Jormungandr is such a big snack boy that he is unable to be affected by hard displacements. These are knock-ups, knockbacks, permafrost, whatever that's, frictionless I think it's called is, grabs, anything like that. He's not able to be affected by them. Banishes as well, he's not affected. Instead, Jormungandr gets Dazed. Dazed is a debuff onto Jormungandr, which is a fading, non-cleansable slow, which also increases the damage he takes for the duration. Any basic attack past base, his base attack speed will speed up the recharge rate of Jormungandr's basic attack. This is a 20% slow, you take 10% additional damage, and it lasts for 2 seconds. The attack speed conversion is 5%, so anything above it increases the speed, so if you had, TLDR, it just increases the speed, it winds back up, so you're not really going to buy any attack speed items on the guy, so it doesn't really matter. Talking about his basic attacks though, the basic attacks that Jormungandr has are a very strange, interesting thing. It is a giant, massive cone area out in front of him. Now this also as well ticks in a very interesting way. You see the red line that keeps pulsing here? That pulse is when you will do a basic attack damage. It was when you will actually do basic attack damage. I think it's when it does it. Now, when you start off at this higher level, you'll see it ticks very fast. Now it ticks lower and lower and lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. So yeah, it ticks like this. And from what I can tell, it's sort of it takes a while for it to do this. There is a graph which I've done, which I'll put a rough line of here on the screen for you to see, which we'll talk about a little bit more later, but this is the sort of rate it goes down at, and the rate at which you'll get the basic attacks, and how it exactly works, and all these kinds of things. So, TLDR, when it's full, you'll get like 5 ticks a second, and then it slowly goes down to 2. It takes about 7 seconds for it to do this, so you'll get about 20 autos, 20 ticks of this damage in, if you stay on someone before you should be recharging. You should probably recharge a little bit sooner than that, but the basic thing is if you do this the entire time, you'll get about 24, 25 basics in. So that's a thing to note, hence why it's also very, very low damage, low numbers, and it's also only 1.6 times his level, so that even at level 20, this will only do 22 plus 8%, because it ticks very, very fast. Fire rate, as I said, 5 attacks per second, that decrease while firing to a minimum of 2 seconds, so it's a straight line, goes down, 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 down. That's his basic attacks. The easy way to do it is when it's full, you do it fast. You want to sort of do it like this. You want to sort of burst, and then in between, you want to use your abilities. Now, what are his abilities? Well, Jormungandr's one is Venomous Haze. Jormungandr fires noxious spit into an area that deals damage and creates a larger toxic cloud. This field damages and slows enemies inside every second. If Jormungandr interacts with a toxic cloud, with Consuming Bellows or Submerge, the duration on the cloud is reduced to 5 seconds. Jormungandr may also only have a maximum of 1 cloud up at a time. So, I'm just going to see what the scaling is of that is. If I just buy a Bancroft, there we go. So, it's 40% on the initial damage, and up to an additional 100% scaling at the bottom. You're not really going to get the full tick duration from the damage. You're going to get a fair bit, but it's not the worst thing. The radius is a little confusing, just because it's a radius of 10, but it is also got the larger radius as well, which is like I said, it's slightly larger than that. I don't know what it is, so what we're going to do is we're going to find out using our trusted friend, the ruler. So it's about, yeah, it's about 15. The large, yeah, it's 15 on the actual cloud, 10 on the damage. So that's the thing that you gotta know. In terms of this ability, this is his bread and butter, but it sucks. Like, that's just the bottom line. It sucks. Its slow is abysmal. The tick damage, you can spend a second in it before it will slow you. So, there's not like, it's not like New Fog where the moment you touch it, you take damage and then take the tick damage. It's just ticks the whole time, which sucks. So it's not that great, and the tick damage itself is abysmal. Not to mention as well, this is on a 16-second cooldown, so it's kind of poop. But what you'll see is, the damage area here isn't that large. Like, this is almost all of a wave. Also as well, these basic attacks do not knock back minions, so have fun with that one. They did before, but it's not good. They learned their lesson from Sylvanas, who used to do that, and that was bad. But the thing about this is, like, its damage is okay, but it's not great. It's sort of what you set up the rest of your kit off, and it isn't super good. But talking about the rest of his kit, we also as well have his 2 Consuming Bellows. Jormungandr draws power from the toxic clouds while nearby, whilst also channeling for 1.2 seconds. At the end of the channel, Jormungandr's roar will all deal damage to all enemies, trembling and slowing gods by 30% for 1.5 seconds. Each cloud increases the size of Consuming Bellows and empowers him up to 3 times, while also dealing extra damage to enemies hit. Extra damage after the first instance is halved. While empowered, Jormungandr's basic attacks fires at a faster rate. Now, the fires at its fastest rate line is 1 second for every one of the the bellows that you have. Every one of the toxic clouds that you have. Let me just reduce my cooldowns fully, so that you guys can see this, and I'll level everything as well, because that's just the easiest way to do this, and I'll show you what Submerge is. This is Submerge, but we'll talk about that in just a sec. So what Consuming Bellows does is, if I throw this out, what you'll see is, if I do this, is it supposed to increase the radius of it? Increasing the radius. It's supposed to. I might be bugged right now. I'm not 100% certain. There are a couple bugs with him, but from the looks of things, what it actually is that the area around in that larger circle is where he draws from, and the smaller circle is where he actually will hit from. Now, what you'll notice as well is that when I do this, I get a buff for a second, for a little bit of time. It's literally just a second. But what that does is that means that if I do this, first of all, let's just put this right the way at 0. We'll do that, pull it up. My basics reset to the highest and also stay at the highest for a second. So that's very, very useful for it. That means you can get a lot of damage off because you've got that. But not only that as well, but if you have 3 of these clouds out, then you will actually be able to get this for much longer. You get a second for every single toxic cloud. Also, the clouds stack, so if you really want, you can set up 3 like this. And you'll see here is... look at that. Look at the duration. See how it now just starts ticking out? You get the duration bonus for more than that time. It's slightly wonky because there's a little bit of an animation at the end of Consuming Bellows, so it's not, you don't get it for the full duration. Think like Jingwei, you don't get the full duration on hers because you're knocked up, so you don't get the full thing, but... you know, if I do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the left click from the moment that I and I'm not going to let go. See how there was that little bit of time where the ability to fire, Odin was spinning in a circle, but I wasn't using my basics? That's what's going on here. So, there's a little bit of time with the buff stun. It might be changed by the time this goes up. I hope it's changed. I mean, it shouldn't be, because that would be patch 6.3. But either way, TLDR, that's what's happening. With Consuming Bellows. This is his best ability, considering how much damage it can do. It's 360 base plus 50%, then the bonus damage is up to, 1 empowered, empowering up to 3 times. Extra damage after the first instance is halved, so it's 60. So it's basically 2 times on the bonus damage, so it's That's what? That's 480 plus 70%. It's a pretty strong ability of his, so it works very, very nicely. Also, as well, you do get 10% mitigation while you're channeling this. Next up, you've already seen, is Submerge. Now, Submerge works how you think it does. You go into the ground, but you go stealth. This doesn't change your size, but it does let you do that. Also, what it does is, as you can see, you get that pulse wave. Now, the pulse will reveal enemy gods that are in the range of it, but not just enemy gods that you can't see. It'll also do that for enemy gods who are stealth. Now, the range on this is, does it say on the thing? No, it just says the radius of the explosion. But I believe it's about 120, something like that. It's a reasonable range. Enemy gods will know because they'll have that red line tick on them. Now, when you come out of it, you will knock someone up, but not only will you knock someone up, but if you do it through a toxic cloud, whichever direction you are facing, you will throw 2 toxic clouds. Now, what this is designed to do is essentially, if you've got a toxic cloud on the ground, you're supposed to knock someone up, channel Consuming Bellows, because the knock up, by the time they land, they will be slowed, they'll take all the damage from Consuming Bellows, and then you just wail on them with autos. That's the basic idea of what you're trying to do with this. Problem is, though, is you will have to have a cloud on the ground already, then you'll have to go back into it, then you'll have to try and hit the cloud, and then you'll do that. So the range you can go is pretty far, because you've got a radius of 20, and then you'll have the additional radius on the Consuming Bellows, so you should be pretty good. But pretty much you're not going to be able to really do this and get very far away. Like, you're going to have to go to, like, here-ish, and then come out of the ability, and then you get the 3, and then you do it like that. And that's the goal. That's your main goal. Submerge, like I said, it reveals all gods, even stealth gods. If you get hit, you will lose the stealth that you have. There is also 25% movement speed. The duration of 5 seconds. The pulse out is once every 5 seconds. So you get boom, 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 burst. I believe that's how it is. So that's how that works. And lastly, you have the World Serpent. This is the ability which I'm expecting the most changes to. But Jormungandr prepares to enter into the world, enlarging as he prepares a devastating attack. After selecting a target area, Jormungandr flies into the air, diving down and crashing into enemies as his body then slams into the ground. He must then travel 2 more times. Jormungandr emerges and submerges during this ability. He knocks up enemies while with each submerge, he leaves behind a toxic cloud. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is you do something that looks a bit like this. And then you will jump. Now, this ability, the problem with this ability is it is phenomenally slow. It is phenomenally slow. The duration on these, I believe that those are, again, all of these Venom Clouds last for 5 seconds that come from his abilities, which kind of sucks, would like it if they didn't. But he does that. The wind-up on it is very long. The actual time it takes to use the ult is very long. Like, look. I have to now sit here and do nothing for that entire time. Like, it's very easy to start repositioning and juking Jormungandr very easily. So, his ult's kind of doo-doo. It does get shorter in duration. It starts at 100 seconds and you can work it back down. The damage on it is okay, but more than likely you're going to use this as a get-out-of-jail-free card. Though there is, like I said, there is some channel time on it. There's about a second and a half of channel time, and the distance you can cover is pretty far. It's about 150 units each jump, so it's pretty good in terms of being able to get around the map, but people will be able to see where you're going, and chances are they heard it as well. Other things to know about Jormungandr, as you can see, his camera is very high off the ground. He is the tallest model in all of Smite, so he can see around a lot of corners, but unfortunately, he's also kind of visible around a lot of corners because, well, he's just so massive. This camera height does give him an interesting viewpoint, I believe, as well. The basics, as you can see, do emanate from directly under him, so there's no safe spot, like, right underneath him. Yeah, no safe spot right underneath him. Look, look, see? No safe spot, so you can't hide underneath him from that side of things. But yeah, that is Jormungandr's kit. It feels very synergistic, but it is very clunky. Also, currently there is a bug with Jormungandr. Well, there's a couple bugs. Submerge is a little bit of a finicky ability. Trying to actually submerge, you can't reapply the ability. You have to left click, not right click, which I would have liked to just rework on any of those. Also as well, if you submerge, if you have an enemy toxic cloud, you can actually, you can create from those, you can create the, additional toxic clouds and set theirs to 5 seconds. That is a bug. Don't actually think that that's going to stay in the game because, well, it's a bug. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, that has gone over the abilities and kit explanation for Jormungandr. Now let's break down a build for the World Serpent. Alright then, so Jormungandr. Most of the times you're going to see him played in the solo lane. He's a sort of semi-bruiser, wants to be up in the front line kind of god. Doesn't necessarily do it all too well, but he wants to get up there. If you really want to run him mid, he does a lot of damage, but he's too squishy for it. And support, he kind of doesn't have enough peel, so you're kind of screwed wherever you go. But nonetheless, let's look at what we can do for build. So, if you're starting in the solo lane, then you're gonna get Warrior's Blessing. It's fantastic, so you pick that up because it's very, very good. From there, it kind of depends on what you're gonna go against. Shoes of Focus are very, very good. Don't get me wrong, they're fantastic. So also is Reinforced Greaves. Reinforced Greaves aren't the worst option for him, just because, again, it kind of depends what you're going into. Basically, all options for shoes are pretty good. Shoes of the Magi, if you can get a bit of a lead. Shoes of Focus, if you are sort of even and want the CDR. And Reinforced Shoes are kind of the ultra safe option. So any one of these three are totally fine. I'll go with Shoes of Focus in this case. If you're then going, this is sort of a generic idea, you then got your main protection sort of option. If you're going against a magical and they have healing, get a pestilence, obviously, because it's a pestilence. You want to get some anti-heal for your team. You've got Void Stone. Took a nerf, but it's still pretty decent. You know, 15 protection reduction is still really nice for the team, so you can grab that. And Breastplate of Valor is also another option. The generic build is going to be things like this. From here, you now have a couple of options, really, to try and look at. Again, you want physical and magical defense. That's basically what you're looking for at this point. Hide of the Urchins, totally fine. You've got the Mantle of Discord. I would advise against Spirit Robe, just because of the fact that you're not going to get knocked up or anything like that. You're not going to get the passive off of it every so often if they've got a lot of knockups, so you can't kind of cheese the passive from that regards. The super safety build is going to be like this, and then you want magical. You can get things like a Genji's Garb, which isn't bad. Oni Hunters is fantastic as well. And then finally, you're also going to want somewhere in the build a Gem of Isolation. That's pretty much what you're going to be looking at. Then last time, you can swap it out for whatever you really need. Once you get your elixir speed. So you could do this, and you could do something like this. This could be something that you'd be looking at for a build. It's tanky, it's got CDR, it's designed to sort of stand in front of things and be kind of a wall and really annoying. That's kind of your goal. So we're going to stack, we're going to reduce the cooldowns because we're super low on cooldown right now. So let's go back to our regularly scheduled cooldown amount. And as you can see, we've got 20%, 10%, and, you know, it's still pretty good. So you've got 30% CDR here. You can get more, you can get less. This is just a generic kind of build. If you're in the support role, however, then you're pretty much going to buy one, maybe two of these items, and that's about it. So what are you going to buy? Well, you're going to start with Guardian's Blessing, because that's what you need to do. Once you get your shoes, which can be Reinforced Greaves, cooldown boots, or Traveler's Shoes, if any boots, honestly, at that point, just grab some. And for this, I'll just take Reinforced Greaves because they're the tankiest. Next options you've got are going to be things like Oni Hunter's Garb, which is always fantastic. Getting 9% mitigation is fantastic, especially as a support. This also sets you up nicely with both, with technically both kinds of defenses because you have mitigation, so that's really nice. You get that. Then you get Sovereignty, and you're pretty tanky at this point. You can pick up a Gauntlet of Thebes if you want, but you can grab that a little bit later, so personally I would advise grabbing it a little bit later. Next up, you're going to want things like Hide of the Urchin. Again, just you want to be tanky, you want to stay tanky, because that's pretty much all that you are. If they've got a lot of physicals, because physicals are quite strong right now, Jade Emperors is a pretty good option that you can also run into after getting your Sovereignty, just because reducing their physical power by 30 is very strong, very, very nice. You've also got other options here, like the Midgardian Mail if you need to deal with auto attackers. Emperor's Armor is always going to be a good option for the support, because you want it for the sieging, so you can grab that. And then last item, you know, just you can get more magical defense. I like grabbing, if you can, Gauntlet of Thebes, it's not bad. And then once you've sold your boots, because you're not going to need those anymore, you can just get something with more magical defense, more physical defense, whatever. It's really kind of up to you at that point. Talisman of Energy is not bad if it goes super late, just because you can get the stacks, so you get a lot of MP5 from it. In fact, actually, you'll get max MP5 from it. But Gauntlet of Thebes in this kind of build, you've got 4,000 health for Christ's sake, like, you're doing pretty good. You get a lot of bonus movement speed, MP5 from this, you get some attack speed as well. This kind of thing is very much for sort of Phoenix sieges, and so all pretty good. Jormungandr isn't the worst for sort of zoning style things, but he's not super great either. The main thing about this build is you have 4,000 health and nearly 300 protections of each, and when it comes to like the phoenixes and stuff, then you're pretty fine. In terms of relics, Sprint, Horrific, Shell, Blink, Frenzy if we need to. There's always Phantom Veil. The actives that you're going to need are going to be based on what you're facing, not what I sort of have. But as you can see, the idea with Jormungandr is you want to be making sure that people aren't going to be able to get around or close to you, and that's pretty much all you're trying to do. You have no power in this build whatsoever, so it's all on base here. If you want, you can get some items with power. You can get, if you get really far ahead, you can get like a, you know, with this kind of a build, and you don't need like the Emperor's Armor, you can get a spear of, you can get like a spear here. You could also get an isolation here, and look how tanky you are. You are balls to the wall tanky, you've got a spear. You know, there's a lot of options that you can do late game. If you want to go super tank, then by all means go super tanky. You can also slap some damage in the build just to try and help the team out. It's not the worst option. It kind of comes down to playstyle a little bit here. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I've given you some ideas of things that you're going to be able to build. Now let's go over a leveling guide for the World Serpent, Jormungandr. Okay then, so Jormungandr level 1, wherever you're going to be playing him, you gotta basically do some looking at some numbers here. Which of these abilities does the most damage earliest? The answer is Consuming Bellows. You can't get the World Serpent. If you could, that'd be great, but you can't, unfortunately. So, that's a shame. Venomous Haze, you'd think does a lot of damage, but it doesn't, and it's very slow damage because it's 20 seconds for the ticks to do 180 damage. And Consuming Bellows does 120, just bang, straight off the bat, just bang, straight in there, bang, 120 damage. So, you get Consuming Bellows. This is the ability that you will be using the most, because it's the most damage, it's the most burst, it sets up your passive the best, so it's the ability that you want to use. Level 2, the next level, I can't unfortunately do it individually, so we'll just have to go up to level 20 and I'll show it from there. Level 2, if you're in the support role, then usually what you'll end up doing is you'll get Submerged, because that's the knock-up, the chase, it's also your way of getting away from people. You can get Venomous Haze, but it's risky to not get your escape, though without you being knocked up or anything like that, it's slightly less punishing, but you do still get slowed, so be careful. The safest option is getting your 3, because that's your escape. It's also a knock-up, it sets up actual damage for you and your team, so that's pretty good. At this point now, you will want to get Venomous Haze. Venomous Haze is the ability which, you know, everything else works off of, so that's pretty good. And now from here, if you're in the solo lane, you will most definitely level up Consuming Bellows. If you're in the support role, you will most definitely be leveling up Consuming Bellows, because it's the most damage and helps with wave clear, so you'll get Consuming Bellows. Level 5, you'll get the World Serpent, because it's your ultimate, and it's a pretty strong one at that, so you'll get this. That enables you to just effectively run away from everyone, which is really, really nice. At this point, it's all about the Consuming Bellows, honestly, and I honestly feel like there's no reason to level the ult. Yes, it lowers the cooldown, but it's not that super great, and yes, it increases the damage, but good luck hitting the damage on it. It's 150 on the submerged damage if you hit someone with all 3 shots of it, and the crash damage is 75. So, honestly, it's not really that great in leveling. So we'll level Consuming Bellows, then we'll level Consuming Bellows, then we'll level Venomous Haze, then finish off our Consuming Bellows for level 9, once we've got up to level 9, and then from here, it's everything into the worlds, it's everything into Venomous Haze, and now it's between Submerge and the World Serpent, and now, because it's one that only increases damage versus increases damage and cooldown, we'll take the World Serpent. So now we level the World Serpent every time we can, then we'll get this, then we'll get this, then we'll get this, then we'll get this, and that's how we do for the leveling order. Basically, the priority is going to be 2, 1, 4, 3. This is just for the most damage potential and output. Yes, leveling Venomous Haze earlier, it decreases its cooldown, but it's such a pitiful ability that you just live with it on 16 seconds, because until you put 3 levels in it, is it at the same level as Consuming Bellows, and it lasts for 20 seconds anyway, so it's not going to matter that much if it's on a slightly lower cooldown. Main combo is what I showed before. You want to go under, you want to land in a toxic cloud. Now you have up to the area that you can see there, and then you want to do that, and that's your combo. Completely finished, it's just that. World Serpent, you can go down to right next to it, and remember as well that it does also do crash damage, so see how he took 2 instances of damage there? Like that? That's what happens when you go jump to jump. So you go buff, and then you basically land like here, and the area in between is pretty much all filled. And that's pretty much it for Jormungandr. I hope that you guys have been able to find this useful. I'm trying to cut back on these ramblings, but they are still pretty rambly, so I apologize. But I hope that somewhere in there you guys have been able to pick up some useful information. Like I said, next will be Merlin. Expect that to be a longer video because there's a lot of numbers and 2.5 kits to go through. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, my name has been Supersonic Blur. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and favorite for more, and to share this stuff so people know that it exists. You guys have been a fantastic audience, and I shall see you all next time.